Hello and welcome to the Young Film Academy podcast, the essential podcast for teenagers looking to find their way into the creative industries. My name's Dan, I'm a writer, director and tutor for Young Film Academy, and I am joined this week by Amelia. Amelia, the actor. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, very good today. I'm actually very excited.
I am.
Yeah, it's just... Our guest today is Rebecca Hanssen, who is an actor, voiceover artist, and who's worked in some incredible films and TV shows at different scales, ones you would have heard of, including The Witcher, Enola Holmes as well.
Yeah.
So we're going to get to hopefully talk about all of those, which is going to be very exciting, and also about the world of video games for actors, which I think is just so fresh and new, and just sort of learning about what that sort of landscape is like for an actor, because it's alien, right?
Yeah, I know Rebecca has got to dip her hand into that stuff quite a bit, so I'm really interested to learn, because I think that's where so much of acting work is going these days for creatives and for performance. I'm really interested to kind of hear what her perspective is on all of that. I haven't heard a lot of that before, so yeah, it's going to be really cool.
Very cool, very cool. Well, let's hear what she has to say. Welcome to the podcast, Rebecca. How's it going?
Nice to be here. Good.
Welcome.
We are excited to have you because, you know, we are going to be talking about acting across the new modern mediums, which is very exciting because you've done a bit of everything, from my understanding. Is that
That's quite fun to think. Yeah. I'm going to go with
You have, I mean, I think you should, you know, I want to big you up, so our listeners are sort of very excited. You've been on Netflix shows, Amazon shows, right?
Yeah, I mean, when you put it like that, it sounds
it's
really impressive.
cool, right?
But small.
But so you've been in like these big scale productions. You've been in independent movies, short films. You've also, you know, worked in video games as well, which we're going to get to talk about, which is going to be very exciting. As well as also doing a little bit of hands modelling. We hear as well.
Got that in nice and early.
So we're here. So, you know, a lot of our listeners, you know, they're aspiring actors. They're in their teenage years, and they're looking at probably your CV and thinking like, holy moly, like if I could get to do all of that stuff, that'd be incredible, you know? So
Sweet.
Do you ever get time to reflect on all of it?
Yeah, I think it's really important to take time to reflect on it, especially in this industry, because I feel like you get to a point where nothing's ever good enough. Like there's always somebody doing more than you, or like, oh, but I haven't done this thing, or I haven't achieved that, or like, oh yeah, I did that, but it was a small part, or like, you know, whatever. So you're always constantly kind of putting yourself down and looking for the next thing.
Yeah.
And there's no definitive ladder in this industry. It's not like you become the CEO of the company. Like, you know, you can go up and down all the time. And I think it is really important to kind of look back and reflect and go, yeah, I know, but if I told myself this 5 years ago, I'd be over the moon. So like, and you just need to realize that and be really, really happy with everything that you have achieved.
Yeah, it's so tricky, isn't it? I don't know. I had this thing when I was a kid. All I wanted was to be able to walk into HMV and buy my film on DVD.
Oh, yeah.
I know, but then I had a time when it actually happened, and I didn't care. It was a miserable day. I think I just received some bad news about something, and I walked into HMV and I was like, don't even want to buy a DVD. And I was trying to like remind myself, I was like, this is like a dream, you know? This is like so cool. And there's so many things that probably contribute towards that now. I don't know, like, do you find social media sort of impacts your enjoyment of your success, maybe?
Yeah, so I stopped doing Twitter. I used to do it avidly, especially when I first moved to London. And then it was really useful, I think. Like, I got to know loads of like casting directors' names off by heart, and like what they were casting, and agents' names and all that stuff, and like really immerse myself into the whole world of it. And then I feel you reach like a certain point where you know a lot of stuff, and then it started to just it became too much. You know, if you've gone up for a role and you've gotten really close, and then, you know, you've just not heard back, and then rather than like getting a no from your agent being like, oh, I'm really sorry, it didn't go your way this time, you see that it's been cast on Twitter, and you're like, great, I was having a really nice day and now this is just flashed up on my phone and now everything feels rubbish. So I was like, I don't need that. I'm quite happy to just let let hope peter out for a part and then move on with my life.
Just like forget the role.
Yeah, and then like a year later you'll see it go by on a bus and you're like, oh yeah, that was that thing. Oh, well, that's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So Twitter, I've kind of stopped doing. I still, I get notifications every so often, and I'll check some stuff, but no, it's too much. And Instagram, the mute button is my friend. So like, I have collated, a very happy Instagram feed of just lots of really lovely people and inspiring stuff, and it's a nice place to be. And if I think every so often your mental health just isn't great one month, or you're just feeling a bit tender, and it's okay to just be like, look, I'm so happy for so many people doing really well, but just today I just can't see it. I just need to be in my own little bubble and make sure that I'm okay, and then you go back to it. And that is fine. If anybody wants to put me on mute, I don't use Instagram all that often. I don't post very much, but like, mate, put me on mute. That's fine. If you just don't need me in your life right now on Instagram, that is okay.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, I think on that as well, even that point of kind of, if you're still using social media as a tool, even, it's okay to put yourself on mute, even if you don't know all of the casting directors' names yet. And do you know what I mean? You're still using it as an industry tool. There's kind of this sense of, I must never stop and I must never switch off and I must never miss a potential opportunity ever. And it kind of gets to a point where it goes, actually, I'm allowed to prioritize myself today and my own mental health. And
100%.
I'm sure I'm not going to miss the one and only opportunity that I'm ever going to have by muting my socials for a month,
No.
100%.
In fact, when I first moved to London, every night I would go on Twitter and I'd scroll through everything, like every single casting director was saying, and I'd like all of their stuff. It was too much, guys. Don't do that.
Did you get any DMs from them?
I was really keen.
I
did get my first agent that way.
Did you?
Amazingly. So that did work. But no, then I did there was one casting director sent out a public tweet like, for those people who keep liking all of my posts, please stop. You know who you are. It's not doing you any favors.
Wow.
And I was like, oh God. So
they found you.
I stopped doing that. Yeah. And I thought, oh my gosh, she's blacklisted me now. And then 3 years later, she cast me in something. So it wasn't too bad. But not probably because of that
as well. Like, I don't know what it is. You just like, they think that you're going to be remembered for that one time on social media.
No, they have busy lives. They're fine.
Yeah, it's such a weird world, I think. And I don't know, I've always sort of looked at people that maybe their aspirations are business or like money, right? And I've always seen that as almost like a fool's journey, because they're always like, you can never have enough money, right? If your goal is just to get rich, I'm very excited there. 10 million isn't enough, then you can go for like 100 million. And then once you get to 100 million, well, that's not enough because there's billionaires. So I want a billion. And then you become a billionaire and it's like, but I'm not a Jeff Bezos billionaire. Yeah. So it's like that to me always seemed like a pointless endeavor. But you can see the same thing just happens. We just all have our different ambition of what that is, right? And so in film or acting, sometimes it can never feel enough, but often I think it's the comparative nature of social media that just means that you're almost forced to constantly reflect, right? And see all those things. But it's nice to hear that you've managed to curate yours.
I think that's very important.
Is there any sort of uses for you now? Are you mainly not using it for business, or just how are you using it?
I think I don't know. It sounds really silly. I feel like my Instagram is more, maybe in a way I'm thinking of it as like a portfolio, just to show that like you're a nice person who could be quite fun to work with. Like most of my friends know what I get up to day, so I don't really need to post a picture of my breakfast. But I don't know. I don't use it that often. No. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I see that. That's quite nice. I never really thought of that as a filter of like, okay, what's the what's almost like the gatekeeping of like what I post, and does it show that I'm a fun person to work with? It's actually quite a nice way of doing it.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah.
It gives you a chance to actually put yourself out there, not just based on your work, but based on who you are as a as a human. And
totally. And I think as well, like, you have to be really careful about the stuff that you put out there. And I've got a lot of, because I started in like CBBC shows, so I've got a lot of like younger people following me as well. Not that I would ever post anything risque anyway, but like you just need to be like aware of the people that are following you and kind of what you're posting and saying.
How was that? Was that like almost a transitionary point? Like, was that the moment you thought about what you might put out there? Was it when you were doing like your first CBBC show, you were like, oh man, like I now need to almost tailor myself to that audience? Or did you just ignore it? Or
kind of, I mean, I think I'm a kid at heart anyway, so really the only things I would be posting are just like silly stuff. But yeah, I think as well what I try and do is, you know, if there's something I feel like I need to post for work where I'm like, you know, oh, I got this part and I'm really pleased, and then it shows that you're busy but I then always need to like tailor it with like a funny comment. So I'm like, oh, I did this thing, but lol, don't like stupid in this photo, or like, you know, I mean, which maybe is a bad thing as well. Like, you should be able to own your accomplishments, but
no, it's very British though, isn't
it's it? So
yeah. Always undercut yourself.
Always undercut.
Very like self-deprecating and stuff. Yeah, I can't see that. Maybe in like America, they wouldn't. It would just, you know, it'd be them outside the studio, like, ready to film, ready to roll. Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
On the kind of social media note as well, I find it really interesting that, because I think a lot of creatives struggle with that balance of like, is this professional? Is this personal? Also, I kind of want it to be both, because that could be helpful, but does it hinder me? And with kind of being in that mid place and you talking about wanting to, you know, show on your social medias that you're potentially someone that's fun to work with, have you ever, I'd be interested to know, have you ever either gotten any jobs or had any kind of like direct interest from maybe casting directors or agents looking at your social medias? Or
I don't know. I've never had anybody like message me on Instagram being like, we'd love to. Well, no, I've had like a few people, but that's never like,
maybe it hasn't turned into it.
But no, I guess you just never know who's looking. And I feel like, you know, this industry is so unbelievably saturated. And if they're seeing tons of people, because as well now everything is self-tapes pretty much first round. And so I feel like people aren't getting to see you. You don't have that chat when you first walk in the room and like can establish that like you're chill, you can be nice on set, you'll get your work done. And so they just see all these people on screen. And I guess if they're trying to just wheedle away at this like large group of people they're looking at, I guess if they do happen to be like, right, well, let's check them out on Instagram. If you can just have put your best self forward, it's not going to do any harm, is my view.
Do you think that's because they care less about you being a nice person these days? Do you know what I mean? Or is it just the further into the process, then it becomes a factor, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. It's really interesting. I feel like different casting offices will be different. And my favorite thing is, I can't remember who told me this, but it's such a good way to think about it. To be hired, you need to always be 2 of 3 things. The 3 things being always on time, incredibly talented, or really lovely. So if you're like really lovely and always on time, but you're maybe not like the most talented person ever, you'll still be hired because people just love to work with you and you're really professional. If you are super talented and really lovely, but you're always late, people will still hire you because it's like, but they're so nice and they're so good at their job, so let's just do it. And if you're really talented and always on time, but you're a horrible person, you'll probably still get hired because you're there, you do the job and you do it well, even though you're not that nice. I find that really, I don't know.
I love that.
I love that.
I want to write that down. Actually.
Yeah, so do I. I make a mental note. That's great.
Talented.
But always strive to be all 3.
Yeah, I was going to say all 3. Strive to be all 3.
And nice.
Definitely the lovely and on time.
Yeah.
Prioritize.
Yeah, well, those are, I was about to say those are the only 2 things that you're in control of, but obviously you can work at your craft, right? You can, and you can get better, you can improve. There's an element of obviously like talent or like natural ability. You know, it always feels like some kids, you know, when they start playing the violin, they're like already sick from the start. You know, it's like that. Anyway, right, let's I want to hear more about your journey sort of within the industry as well, right? So obviously you already mentioned CBBC show. What was the first thing that you did, your first sort of maybe big production?
So the first big thing was The Drowning of Arthur Braxton, which was a film that I shot 6 or 7 years ago now. I'm going to say 6. And yeah, that was a feature, very low budget feature. It took 6 years then to come out. It's only just come out.
Wow.
Classic indie films.
Classic indie films. Money is always just such an issue. But then it won Raindance, UK Best Picture, so it was worth the wait. But so that was my first big thing. So, but like before then, I'd done, you know, every single student film, short film, indie thing I could get my hands on.
And was that through like Mandy, or was that through like people recommending you?
Yeah, I think it was Mandy, which was Casting Call Pro at the time.
Yes.
Dash, Star Now.
Star Now. I remember Star. Is that still
I don't know.
I don't know either.
So that was while I was at uni. So I didn't study acting. I really wanted to, but I think, you know, parents are always a bit wary of going into such a precarious industry, and so they were like, why don't you go and study something that like could be transferable skills that could like help you in acting, but equally is like a fallback. So I was like,
a skill that might help you be on time and nice.
On time and nice.
There you go.
So I studied business management.
Fantastic.
At joint honours with English literature.
Yeah.
So I could still do like plays and read and stuff.
Sounds good for the parents.
Yeah.
But still Shakespeare.
4 years.
Yeah.
But
wow, 4 years. Is that because
4 years?
Oh, good. Gotcha. But it's free, right?
But it's free, so super. I cannot complain. No, it was great. And I went to Glasgow Uni, and it was stunning, and I met lots of lovely people. But while I was doing that, I then, you know, at the weekends, evenings, did you know, all of the student films and stuff so that I could still do all the stuff that I really wanted to do. And then I worked 2 jobs as well and saved up the money so that I could move to London once uni was finished.
Yeah. And when you're at that stage, would you advise to just do everything? Or is there an element of, even at the student film level, you're thinking, is this the right kind of project or right kind of role for you?
Yeah, I definitely, still read the scripts and be like, I don't know if I really want to be in a scene that does that. You know, like, be selective.
Yeah.
And try and pick stuff. You know, there's a whole wealth of student films happening at the same time, especially like, if you pick graduate pieces, especially, that's quite good, because then, you know that they'll be of like a certain caliber. And yeah, maybe try and pick stuff that is different from the previous character they've played, so that you can, like, you're doing it so that you can put together a show reel and, you know, experience on set and like learn what all of this stuff means and what these buzzwords are and what have you. So yeah, I was definitely looking at it in terms of, right, what character, what else do I need for my show reel? This character, right? Who's doing that?
Okay,
can I come and be in your short film?
Right.
Yeah, I would imagine if there was like a fear, right? Like, do you want to be turning stuff down that early on? But like, you've got to do stuff that is going to be helpful.
Yeah. Oh, especially because most of it is not paid. Yeah. So you want to, you know, you need to use your time wisely. Like, I definitely did not have a lot of sleep in those 4 years. Do you remember going to the doctors at one point and they were like, burning the candle at both ends is not healthy? And I was like, I've got so much to do. So yeah, it was a lot.
Yeah.
But interestingly, actually, I think that, just talking on that period of time, I think, because I didn't know you'd studied business at uni, which is so interesting, because I think so many young people are in the positions where, for whatever reason, pursuing performing arts, acting, filmmaking straight out of kind of mainstream education is just not an option for them, whether that's due to financial barriers or you know, cultural barriers at home or whatever. And I find it really interesting that you kind of created this strategy of almost, right, this is what I kind of have to do to, you know, keep the peace at home and blah blah blah, but I know what I want to do more long term. And so I'm going to kind of build this strategy of using my spare time to essentially make myself a show reel and to make myself the stuff that I'm going to need afterwards. So are there any kind of like tips that you would almost give your younger self in that position of kind of, as someone who maybe can't study performing, you know, for the majority of their day, whether because they're at uni doing something else or they're working, like, how do you reflect on that? Are there any things you would have done differently? And what would you say to those in that position now that want to try and break into the industry after whatever they're doing at the moment?
Yeah, it's super interesting because, I do look back on that time and I'm quite proud of myself. Like, you know, 17-year-old Rebecca being no, I ain't going to do this. Because I think it did. I did everything I possibly could in that position. You know, so I do recommend it. It's, you know, it's hard and often it's not feasible if you don't have that much free time to be able to just, take the weekend off to go and shoot a short film. Like it's tricky. So no, but I think that was the right thing to do, of literally just every free moment that you have a list of characters that you want to play, that you want to showcase, and try and find short films around your area. And there's so many. Often you will need to do it for free, which is frustrating, especially then if you're studying and you're working as well. I get it. It's hard. But the good thing about short films is that they can often be done in like 2 days filming, you know. And then you've got it. So if that is what you really, if that is what you're striving towards, you cannot go and study acting. I really understand. But there are other ways, and not everybody needs to study it.
That's super cool. I mean, just really trying to sort of make it work and balance yourself like across all of that. You know, it just sounds so difficult, but that's where the passion comes in. That's where it's just like, that's how you want to be spending your weekends, right? And I think, you know, if that's not how you want to be spending your weekends, then you're going to struggle to keep it up and stuff like that, maybe. So those short films obviously sound like a whirlwind. You had an indie film, which, you know, those are interesting vehicles in amongst themselves. And then you've got you had a show that was on Netflix as well, the fantasy show,
the Creeped Out.
Yes, Creeped Out. That you were in. So I wondered, sort of, you know, looking at that, and also you have a role in season 2 of The Witcher, which I'm a massive fan of The Witcher. I am. I messaged you, didn't I, Rebecca, straight after it finished. I was like, oh my God, it was so good. The whole show. Like, I couldn't believe how good it was. And how good you were, obviously.
It was a very small part, but thank you very much, Dan.
It was so exciting. I just wondered what the sort of main striking differences maybe were working across those different worlds. So you've got high-end TV, you've got indie feature filmmaking, and then you've got student short films, which are sort of, you know, those are milestones in careers, I feel. What's similar and what's different?
That is such a good question, because it's so interesting. There are times where you're on like a massive set and you're looking around and you're like, there are definitely people here who have no idea what they're doing. You know, there are elements that are still like, you know, there were some student films I worked on that were terrible, and like they clearly just hadn't prepared properly or whatever. But there were some people, their passion and their knowledge was so great, and they had so little like budget to work with. They were stretching absolutely everything and just using everything they knew to create this, you know, 5-minute piece. And I do feel like, you know, the bigger the production, obviously there are some incredibly intelligent people who really do know what they're doing, but also, you know, money is helpful when you can hire lots and lots of people in so many different departments who all work together and create this massive thing. But ultimately, like you can create some really cool stuff just in student short films with passion and some kit. You know, and some good actors and locations.
And maybe like an hour of sleep.
And an hour of sleep. Maybe it's more than that. No, sleep is important. But in terms of like the kind of interim, like, you know, the indie film that has, you know, it has budget, but not like the standard of The Witcher or Enola Holmes or something like that. I loved my experience working on Arthur Braxton. It was probably, I look back on that time and I'm like, they were probably some of the best weeks of my life.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, it was all of these people, you know, it was 18 of us, cast and crew, all staying in this converted farmhouse in Manchester for 3 months, and just, you know, all having these massive dinners together, all like kind of pitching in on the cleaning and the cooking and what have you, and then, you know, getting up at the crack of dawn, going to set, filming for the whole day, then coming back home and like playing guitars and watching stupid films, and oh my god, it was like a team. We were like a massive family.
Yeah.
Just making this thing that we were all so passionate about.
Yeah.
And that is just wonderful. Whereas you go on to the bigger things and they're still great and I love doing them. Please keep hiring me. But they, you know, you don't get that feeling as much of the
so
family.
Much bigger,
and
right?
it's so much bigger, and you're sat in your trailer and it can be a bit lonely. I always end up walking to other people's and sitting in there, and then the runners are running around like, where did Rebecca go? And I'm sorry, I just wanted to chat.
It sounds almost like it's almost like the sort of the village versus like being in a city, right?
Yes, that's
there's like so much going on, and like there's people that have very niche specific roles, and say like a big high end thing, and it's so busy, and there's so many people coming and going. But because it's so big, no one knows everyone. No one knows what that guy over there is doing.
Exactly.
Whereas in a small village, everyone knows everyone. Everyone knows what everyone's business is, and you've got a greater sense of community.
Yes, perhaps. That's a really good way to put it. That's absolutely it.
Nice. So, but what about like the similarities that you find? You know, once you were, obviously you talked about being in a trailer. Obviously, that I imagine is an odd experience. But once you're on set, is the process the same, or is it quite a lot different because of a different pace or what have you?
I guess it depends, and it depends on the director. You know, there can be some directors who are just the friendliest people, and they're really like, you know, an actor's director. Like they love to come up and discuss, you know, the performance and exactly like where your characters come from and what they might be thinking and how their relationship with this character, and like really have like a 10-minute discussion with you before the scene and really get into it. And then there's other directors who are more technical directors. Like they are so focused on exactly how the shot is going to look and how it's going to fit in with the edit. And really you're just kind of there as a prop to like do your thing. And
could you do it? Sorry, no, could you do it in exactly 10 seconds for this bit of the line? And
I don't, genuinely, there was a time I was filming this thing where I had to jump out a second story window, pretend, obviously not real. And then she like lands on the gravel and has broken her spine and is trying to like crawl along out of like to safety.
What show was this?
This was it was like a docudrama, you know, like reenactment thing. This was about 5 years ago, and so this was a true story.
No.
So I wanted to do it justice.
I thought it was like a horror fantasy malarkey. No, this is okay.
But I can't remember. I think it was called like Obsession, Dark Desires, or something.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to do this justice to this girl who's had this horrible thing done to her. And the director was like, "Could you just like make no noise on the gravel as you're trying to crawl?" And I was like, and feasibly cannot do that. Like, it's just physically impossible.
What?
That's not even your responsibility. Like, it's just the surface that you're on.
I know.
Yeah.
I was like, don't have made it a gravel driveway then.
What were they expecting you to do?
I have no idea.
Like plank your way?
Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, it's very mixed. The experiences can be so different regardless of what you're working on. Especially even if you're working on the same show. Like, you know, The Witcher has different directors every like 2 episodes or something.
Yeah.
And depending on, you know, the director can change over and it can be a completely different experience. I'm saying this as though like I really was a very small part in The Witcher, but it's just an example.
You were across 2 episodes, and that did give you that opportunity to sort of see that. Yeah. And did that change the tone on set? I wonder, like, did the director bring with them a different, you know, energy that that you noticed did feed out, or because it's the same crew, do they have less impact from your experience?
I think it has a massive impact because the director and the first AD can really change the whole vibe of a set.
And did the directors bring their own first AD, or?
There was a different. I mean, this is the thing when you work on something that massive. There's so many. There's like splinter units as well. So we were like, there can sometimes be that you literally have 3 full crews operating at the same time, and like which is just mad. So yeah, it was a different first on those 2 different episodes, but we were on a splinter unit for the second one. So I don't know if there was. Not sure. It's so many people. This is the thing.
Yeah.
You look around and you're just like, I have no idea. And you're frantically trying to learn everybody's names. And
Oh, Matt, I am so bad with names. So I'd be so worried. I think I'd be really anxious if I was an actor, because I'd be trying to remember all the script, all the words, and then trying to remember people's names on top of that. Like, no chance. But
on that note, though, really interesting, actually, on the note of kind of, because, remembering names is hard for a lot of people. When you're on a set with so many people and so much going on, and then you've also got to take responsibility for, learning your own lines and doing your own work, what is most important in terms of course, yes, preparing your character is number one, but in terms of are you going to be looked upon badly if you don't remember everyone's names, or are there certain people's names that you should really try to remember, or do people just really not care because there's so much going on? Does that really affect stuff, or does it not really matter?
I don't know. It's so difficult, because I think if you're the lead in something, it's so important to know as many people's names as possible. Yeah. And you always hear that as well of people are like, oh, Daniel Radcliffe is just the nicest person ever. He knows everybody's names. And that really leaves a mark as well, I think, with everybody because crew are often treated, they work so hard and are, work 18-hour days and very little sleep, and are putting their souls into this, and then the actors are treated so well, which I get that there's sometimes you are putting in a serious performance and you need everything to be really calm and good and what have you, and be looked after and everything. But yeah, I do think it's important to learn as many names as possible. I had a spreadsheet before I went on.
Wow.
We love a spreadsheet. Everybody's maybe a bit OTT. Everybody's headshot, their character name, and then their real name. And then I memorized that. So the main cast members I would know, especially if you're going on to something where everybody already knows each other, they're already a family, and you're just coming in, and it can be quite nerve-wracking. So at least if I know everybody's names and I can have that kind of familiarity with them, it would kind of break the ice a little bit. And then I think I learned the names of all the key kind of crew members who you would be interacting with the most, because I was only there for a few days. If I was there for any longer, I'd be making such an effort to know everyone, but this is simply impossible when you're just trying to make a good impression for the first little bit. And know your lines and know your blocking and everything.
That's so interesting, the whole sort of spreadsheet thing, because you think, okay, well, what's my job? My job is to act, is to perform, is to deliver the lines. But it's okay, no, but what's my career? If my career is doing that, well, then I want it to be a successful career. And being personable, people remembering you, being nice to work with from your sort of triangle of things to be, is part of that, right? For one, I hope most people would want to do it just because they want to be a nice human. But obviously it is also beneficial to your journey as an actor. So taking those steps to maybe create a spreadsheet, I think I always create a note on my on the notes app on my phone. So as I meet everyone, I'll quickly turn around and then write their name down, and maybe has blonde hair, or wearing red jacket,
You're please always wear that jacket. Don't get touched. It'll throw me.
Well, you gotta I think basically it gives me a 24-hour limit, otherwise I have to try again. But generally that works. And if you can do that, if that's something that maybe you struggle with, then I think it's great to work out things you can do to be the best you can, for the production, and as a human, which is which is nice, isn't it? Do you have any techniques, Amelia, or are you really good with names?
I am not the greatest with names. No. However, I will usually, my thing is just repeating.
Oh, yeah.
If someone's told me their name and their name is Rebecca, then I'll be like, cool, and I'll turn around if I can and just go Rebecca under my breath. Good. Do you know what I mean? Just to like drill it into my brain.
Have you seen House Bunny?
Moment. Say that again.
Have you seen House Bunny?
No, I haven't.
Oh my God, there's a character that does that, but they do it in like a stupid voice. So they'd be like, oh, nice to meet you, Rebecca. And then they go, Rebecca. But I think they do it in front of the other person's face, and they're like, whoa, what was that? It's like, oh, it's just my thing to remember people's names.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, no, don't do it in front of the other person. I'll always try and do it if I can like look away, or do you know what I mean? When I finish the conversation. But yeah,
don't get caught.
Or almost those things, like you said, I'll try and like drill over like Rebecca, red jacket, dark hair, Rebecca, red jacket, dark hair. Do you know what I mean? Just those 3 facts. And that's my kind of technique for trying to drill things in as quickly as I can.
Nice. Okay, right. So let's take it to the next sort of thing as well. Obviously, you've had so many exciting jobs in the video game and voiceover world as well, which is, I mean, I find it so interesting. I used to play a lot more video games than I do. Now I don't have the time to invest in the story ones so much. So I end up just playing like Call of Duty or FIFA for like half an hour. Well, I say half an hour. You know, that's how long I give myself, and then
2 hours later.
Exactly. What video games have you been involved in, and what was your involvement in them?
So I can't say the names yet.
Okay, no, that's fine.
Because they're not out yet, and this is the thing with video games is they take. It depends on what ones you're working on, but they can take, like 4 years from.
Holy moly!
Yeah. So.
Is that 4 years after you've done your bit, or is that
no? As like 4 years from start to finish.
Wow.
I mean, I say that probably some will take longer and some are much shorter.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, I think there was a video game Cyberpunk, which infamously took far longer than they said it would, and when the game came out, it had glitches such as cars falling from sky.
Oh no!
Yes,
no.
Yes, yeah. They all had to offer refunds to everyone.
Oh, that's not good.
No, it wasn't. Funnily enough, it was the company that worked on The Witcher, I think, that went and did that. So full circle.
Oh no.
But so they are good. They just obviously didn't have enough time because it takes ages.
Yeah. Especially now because graphics are just so incredible and like, the whole world building thing, and I do some motion capture stuff as well.
Did you?
Yeah. So there's like one that I've been working on for, I think I'm gonna say like a year and a half.
Wow.
But they're gonna be working on it all the way through this year as well. Probably won't come out until 2024.
And is that a bigger crew than being on, say, like a high-end TV show, or is it?
Not that I see, because this is the thing about voice is that it's so. I love it. I have a lot of fun, but in a way, sometimes it can be quite lonely.
Yeah.
Because if I'm going in to do motion capture, then it'll be me, a movement director, a voice director, and then maybe one person who's kind of like in charge of this suit and making sure all that tech stuff is going, and then like one person who's in charge of sound and making sure that's all sounding great. So there's probably like 6 of us.
So the other characters aren't there.
So the one that I've been doing, no.
Okay.
I know that you can watch things like The Last of Us. They are all jumping around together and like performing together, and
that's what you were hoping for day one, and then you get there.
Dang it!
So there's no other actors here today? Or?
No, weirdly, this isn't like that. It's just you kind of by yourself doing all of the lines and what have you. Like just she doesn't fight anyone.
Okay.
So there's no having to like properly interact like that. But yes, I do have to like.
But
trying to think what's not 28.
I think, so the lines, by the sound of it, are done separately from the motion capture.
No, I do them at the same time.
Ooh, very cool.
Yep.
Very cool.
Yeah. So I've got a big, you're in a big kind of studio with these lines on the floor, and you have to put your legs at a certain angle. And then there's like a big monitor in front of you, and you read your lines. So that is the joy of voice acting as well. So you don't need to learn anything. I mean, obviously, I always look over stuff, like see if there's, especially if you're doing like fantasy things, there's always crazy words in there, place names and people and stuff. So I've read over everything so that I know what I'm doing and I know what's coming up, but you don't need to learn it. And yeah, then you stand there and the director will kind of say, right, okay, so for this one, this has just happened, this is what we're doing, and you emote with your body and your voice what that would be. Yeah, it's good.
Wow. And do you have to do lots of, because I know with voice stuff, they sometimes get you to say like 50 times with the ever so slight different inclinations, or wait, inclination, that's the wrong word.
Intonation.
There you go. Is it the same on video games, or? Yeah,
so it's so fascinating starting in it. I've only been doing voice for maybe like 3 years, and so many studios work totally differently, and different directors work differently. So there's some where they'll maybe, if there's like a scene, you'll run through the scene maybe 3 times, or you'll just do a line and they'll be like, cool, that was great, we'll just do one for safety, fab. Or there's some who are like, say every line 3 times off the bat, and then we'll pick one, and so it really changes.
And if you're doing video game stuff, let's say the action that goes with the line is like a forward roll, and then you say the line.
Yes.
Do you have to do the forward roll and then the line together every time?
Yeah, so it depends what we're doing. So like often you'll record what they call walla at the end, which is all of the like noises of like running, jumping, being stabbed, what have you. So you'll then have you'll do, and you normally do that last because your voice gets really tired after a while. So you'll do all your lines, and then they'll go back through the script and they'll have highlighted everything that your character is doing in that episode. So if they're like running, you just like all of that stuff. And like
was that a jump?
That was a jump.
Oh my god.
We knew straight away that it was a jump. Like, I can tell you've done that more than once. That was
great, James. And then the other ones that I definitely won't do, like no, because they're so loud. Then you're like, oh, now you're like burning to death at the stake, and you're doing all that, and then it's like, now you've been stabbed in the head, now in the arm, now in the torso, now in the leg.
What's the difference between being stabbed?
And we're not doing that. No.
Oh, come on.
Can I ask though? Really, this might sound silly, but I'm sure a lot of other people will be thinking the same thing. If you're having to do that for like being burnt on a stake, will they give you some idea of what that sounds like? Because my brain would be like, what do I do? Does that make sense?
Yeah, so sometimes they'll have people that have come in before to record, or they'll have an idea and they might play you it, but often it is just, you just picture it in your head. Sometimes it can be quite gruesome. Video games can be really, really gruesome sometimes.
Yeah.
And then other times it's lovely and totally chill.
Interesting. Yeah.
So obviously, I know there's an element of you can't tell us too much about what the games are that you've been involved in, but I know that some games, as you mentioned, The Last of Us is like multiple actors on stage, and it's quite a prescriptive story.
Yeah,
you're working through the story as it is already written. But some games are role-playing games where anything could happen, and characters could die by 1,000 different ways depending on what you choose on how to kill them. I'm not trying to pry what yours was, but hypothetically, I didn't know if you were aware of whether on the role-playing games and that side of things, like, are you having, I suppose you have to do all those types of things a gazillion different ways, or?
Yeah, so there's things called, now are they dialogue trees, character trees, dialogue trees, I think, of all of the different ways that you can go. So there are scenes that you'll need to perform like 3 times. In fact, most things, especially in this motion capture thing, you'll have to do it kind of 3 or 4 different ways depending on how the scene has gone, and if they met you before and what have you, and if they're nice to you or not nice to you.
Is that weird as an actor, being used to see, like, having the lines, this is my scene, and then suddenly having to go from like, good day, stranger, and then immediately after be like, nice to see you, friend, you know what I mean? And it's the same character speaking to the same person.
Yeah.
How do you orientate that? Are you having to completely just, I don't know, in your imagination, completely change your relationship with the other people? You can tell I'm not an actor, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's another game that I do which goes through each kind of emotion separately. So you'll record like all of the ones where like you really like the player first, and then you'll go on to like you really hate them, etc. Whereas then there's another one where no, it's just right, these 3 lines depending on, you know, it can be like, oh, hey friend, how are you? To like, how could you? Get away from me. You know, and you just
that was brilliant.
You just switch. Right.
So so does that, in that way, is it more surface levelly? Like you have less time to really imagine yourself in that scenario, or you just get really good and really quick at imagining yourself in that scenario?
I think you just get good at just switching.
Nice.
Especially when you know the character after like a while of doing it. And you know that that's just how it works. And then it's fine.
Very cool. Very cool. So last couple of things, then we're going to have to wrap this up.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a lot of AI stuff evolving in the video game world.
Yeah.
Because obviously, you know, you've told us about how, you know, you record your voice, lots of different ways for all the different things that could happen. But then on top of that, you know, I was thinking of like FIFA. They obviously have to say all the different players' names and stuff like that. But now there's software that you can just say a few words, and then the computer can work out how you'd say all these other words, and they're getting freakishly good. And I wondered whether that worries, I mean, either of you really, as actors, like about the future of performance, because we're getting to a point where you could sign your image and voice rights over to something, and then the computer does it for you.
Yeah, that's creepy. I haven't actually thought about it that much, because I'm always like, oh, but you know,
they'll never replace us.
They'll never replace us.
That's what the cashiers thought, Rebecca. That's what the cashiers thought. People like interacting with humans. Turns out we don't.
I haven't really thought about it. I guess for some games it would make sense, you know, like for if it's not so emotional. But I mean, I know that AI is getting very good at doing all the emotional stuff as well, but I don't know. But I mean, there's this thing about live acting as well, as, you know, you're getting things like with Star Wars where they're just, what's that called again?
Like the face?
Yeah.
Where they when they like bring back someone that's dead?
Yeah.
I watch videos on this quite a bit. I should know. Deep fakes.
Yeah, I mean...
Well, deep faking is one of the technologies that they use to put someone's face on another actress. So they'll have a stand-in actor and then they'll get the dead person's face on. So they're literally using those person's visuals. I think they then get a voice actor that can copy the voice. So Tarkin, I think, is one of the names of the characters that they replaced in Rogue One. That at the time wasn't deep faked. It was just a CGI face.
Yeah.
And you can tell. It's a little bit in that uncanny valley territory. Where uncanny valley being when, you know, you've got, it's too close to being human but not quite human, so it becomes unsettling for the viewer, even though you can't necessarily put your finger on why. Whereas if something is removed enough, say something like Avatar, where all the people are blue, that allows us to go, oh, this is its own thing. And it even works with Gollum. Gollum in Lord of the Rings is different enough and has big enough bulbous eyes that don't look human enough that we go, that is a character we're looking at, rather than this is unsettling to watch, you know. So when they have those, the dead things, but it's weird. I mean, the worry is hard enough in this industry. Imagine if like suddenly what becomes a casting option is like, oh, we could hire someone, or we could get James Dean to be like the lead in the next film. And the thing is, that sounds a little bit exciting. There's a little bit of that that's like, oh, that would be kind of cool, but really sad as well at the same time.
I don't know what way it's going.
I think it's difficult, isn't it? Because I think so many things as well, ultimately, and, this is not me being pessimistic, but just the reality is it is also an industry and a business. So it also, a lot of things come down to money and what works out most affordable. And I mean, I'm no expert on AI. However, I think a lot of AI is still really quite expensive because it's such new technology. And we don't really know it and understand it, I think, enough yet for it to be ready to just kind of replace a whole bunch of set and actors, even though that might be more effort, but we know that we've been doing that for 100 years longer, whatever. But it is kind of interesting thinking about the next generation of actors that are going to be coming through the door in the next 5 to 10 years. Even looking at how much things have changed for actors now over the last 2 years with the pandemic, and like you were saying, self-taping just becoming the absolute norm and everything becoming through a screen. And how that's really kind of shaked things up. I think it is a bit scary, but it is interesting to kind of go, maybe we're not quite sure yet within 10 years time how things like AI will affect our industry and so many other industries. But for us, I think it could potentially take quite a lot away. But like you said, I'm a real strong believer that nothing ever can truly replace a human being. Yep. And there is the whole part of our industry as well that is also live performance. So I hope that bit will be safe.
Ooh, that would be interesting, wouldn't it? If suddenly film just became this sort of like, that's where you go and watch the dead people.
Oh my gosh.
and it was like, but if you want to see real live actors, that's where the theatre. And then suddenly the theatre becomes like more valuable in that way. That would be interesting. Because I think you've hit on the thing, haven't you, Amelia, which is that sadly in our world, like, it's just the markets will decide. The markets will decide whether that becomes the future of film and theatre. But it'll be interesting.
I know.
Very interesting. Right. Well, just before we wrap up, just a couple of last questions. We always like to ask our guests what they were up to in their sort of teenage formative years, so that our listeners can sort of think about what they were doing. And then advice that you would give to yourself in that time period that maybe our listeners could learn from as well.
Okay.
So what were you doing? And obviously we learned a bit about your university experience, but teenage Rebecca, what was she up to? Was she already acting? What was she doing?
What was teenage Rebecca doing? That's an interesting one, because I feel like, even though I've always said, like, from the age of 4 that I wanted to be an actor, and when I was starting high school, I did I was part of the kind of theatre, youth theatre group, like across the road from the high school, which was great. I did a few shows with them, and I loved that. And then, exam years kind of hit, and I think I kind of took 3 years out to just get my exams in high school, and didn't do any plays or shows or drama groups or whatever. And looking back on that now, I'm like, I could probably have still squeezed it in, but it's not made any huge dramatic difference. And I'm glad that I really
Was it tough though? Did you feel like you were almost like betraying yourself? Do you know what I mean? Or did you feel like, no, I'm doing this for me and this is the right thing and I will come back to it?
I think I was like, I can always come back to this. Like, I wanted to be able to get my exams and do really well. I'm not, I did super well in my exams in high school, but I am not one of those people that can just knows the answers and doesn't need to study. Like, I absolutely had to study. I had my face in a book for 3 years. And I'm really pleased that I did that now. It's hard. I mean, I always say, like, oh man, if I could go back in time, I would have begged my parents to, take me to London to go to open castings and stuff like that, or like tried to have done more research myself and things. But back then, I do feel like I barely used the computer, to do those things. I was so young. There's only so much you can do when you're below 16 and my parents worked full-time jobs. I wasn't going to expect them to, like, every weekend pay to, take me down to London to go to a casting or something. So, I feel like everything has worked out the way that it was meant to work out.
Yeah.
Very nice. Okay, and advice that you would give to that person, which that incarnation of you,
that version of you.
I think just surround yourself with other hobbies as well as acting. I feel like that is really important, and that's something that I definitely let go for quite a while. I became really fixated, and then it becomes your whole world. And I think that for anything to be your entire world isn't fully healthy, because then when something doesn't start going well, then it feels like your entire life is crumbling, and it's just not the case. So pick up other hobbies, you know, have loads of friends that you go out and see, and like, you know, family that you enjoy spending time with. And you know, I worked in a cat shelter for a little bit just to have something else I did at the weekend that I really enjoyed, or what have you. So I think it's so important to have other things that you really like as well as acting.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Rebecca. This has been so wonderful to talk to you.
This has been so nice. Yeah. Thanks. This is my first podcast.
Oh my God. Well, I think I'm speaking for both of us when I say we'd love to have you back on as well, because I feel like there were so many things we wanted to cover. We just felt like we were sort of like dancing across those sort of like stepping stones.
Stop splintering. We have to keep going.
Yeah, it was like one subject matter and another one. It was like, this is so interesting.
I'll come back. I'll let you know if anything else exciting happens, then we can come back.
Absolutely. I don't even feel like we need to wait. Right. Well, yes. Thank you so much. We will have you on again, and that'll be great. We're very excited. Thank you.
Thank you.
Boom, ba-dum, 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 ba-dum. That was superb.
It was so good.
We're gonna have to have her back on, I think.
Yeah, definitely. We need a part 2. I feel like we got a really good kind of all-rounder episode there, and kind of looking at Rebecca's career and her journey, but there were so many specific bits I could feel we wanted to kind of delve down, and we were like, no, don't jump down the rabbit hole. We definitely need to get her back.
Yeah, I want to ask about the hand modelling.
That in itself is a whole episode.
like genuinely, do you use a fake hand for the lighting phase, or is she just like there on set the whole time?
I didn't even think about that.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, how much is she used?
Because I know on film shoots, you have doubles, right, for the lighting. That you have stand-ins, right, is the term.
Yeah.
And who will sometimes even be there for the other actors.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you're having to receive a bunch of lines and maybe say some back to them, even though you're not in the film. Because I know Rebecca, we didn't even get into this. She was a stand-in for Enola Holmes.
Yes, she was. I forgot about that.
Yeah. Oh, damn it. The name's gone. Millie Bobby Brown.
Millie Bobby Brown, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, she was her stand-in. So we've got the whole world of stand-ins as well, which will be really interesting to get into, which will be fascinating. But yeah, I found it so interesting about how, like, by the sounds of it, because I've talked to filmmakers before how, and we had a discussion with Ben Hunter talking about how basically it's a lot of the same problems to solve on a big shoot versus a small shoot or a student film, but it sounds like that experience is different for an actor.
Yes. Yeah, I found it really interesting to talk about, you know, how she had that sense of community feel with the indie film that she did, and actually that from the actor's perspective, and I guess it is as well, because, you know, as the actor, you are essentially the last piece of the puzzle. And so, you know, if you're working on an indie film, yes, you may, you know, hold a few extra things and do some extra bits and pieces, but really and truly, you only really have to do your job. So your experience is can be quite different. And that she had that real sense of community feel with doing the indie film, but then, stepping into kind of a huge Netflix production, like, it really becomes much more of a business. I think a lot of us as creatives forget that, you know, it's creative and we love it, but it's a business and it's an industry, and it steps into that world as well. The bigger and bigger things get. Yeah,
and they just have to become, you'd assume, more functional, more sort of to the point of getting that thing shot. And but I think there's also that the point. What is the point of trailers? I mean, that would be not like a movie trailer, but like a trailer, I suppose, is to give like the quiet space. It's like they don't want to jinx it by having, it's just too complicated having too many people on set because they're so big, because they are such a well-oiled machine. It'd just be interesting, how that would, how it differs,
I also really loved talking about her kind of early years of really making her career happen without necessarily having all of the tools, because again I think acting training is amazing, but I think it's a real privilege in a lot of ways, and there are so many people who want to break into the industry but don't have the traditional training routes to do so. And to kind of see that real like determination of her in her early years of just being like, I'm going to do my degree during the day and I'm also working, but then every other moment, but also working smart, not hard, also working smarter rather than harder, if that makes sense. Because I feel like she really worked smart in those years of kind of going, okay, yes, I am going to do the student films to get the experience and all of that jazz, but also I know what characters I need to be playing to kind of fulfill my casting bracket and create myself a showreel that's going to get me to the next stage. So it was real kind of smart, strategic working, and it's just really lovely to hear of an actor and a voiceover artist who's now so successful, that really started out just doing it herself, doing it off her own back, and making it happen.
100%. It was super interesting, and we do actually have a question that is on that topic as well, which I think is perfect for this episode. So someone's asked, this is a great question for you, Amelia, which is someone says, I'm about to go to university. How do I get into student films? And that's from Jess, who's 18.
Interesting. So I think if you are going to uni, hopefully your uni has some kind of film course, and that's probably a great place to start locally where you are. Literally go and find the people on the course and talk to them, because they will be making films within their courses. They will be making graduate films. And as Rebecca said, the third year graduate pieces tend to be the slightly better stuff. They've just been doing it for 3 years. So they know what they're doing more. But even if it's a first year project, jump on it. You've got nothing to lose. Hopefully also, though, the people on those courses will be advertising within their own uni as well. Yeah. So you might see it on kind of notice boards and uni forums and that kind of stuff. But I think, I've done a couple of student films through bits that I found on Facebook groups.
Interesting. Okay.
I know Facebook is kind of the grandma
old people platform.
It's the grandma of social media. But I actually still find personally, Facebook groups still really have their place kind of within the world of freelance creativity. I think they are really useful tools. And I found a couple of student films that I did through performing Facebook groups that I was on. And those groups are still really active. So I think, literally type into Facebook, Student Films London or whatever, and see what comes up and see if there's a group that you can join. Follow universities on socials, follow their Twitters. They may retweet things of some of their students that need actors for films. So I think using social media as a tool is a really, really great one for getting into student stuff. And also there is Mandy.com as well, which is a casting platform where lots of people post lots of different types of work on there, but especially a lot of student films get posted on there. You do have to pay for Mandy if you want to be able to fully utilize it, but even you can still view castings even if you're not on the paid subscription version. So sometimes you can find other cheeky ways around kind of being able to reach out to those directors or casting directors or whoever. So I would definitely start with social media and then Mandy if possible as well, because they can be, you if you're going to do student films, you will do some rubbish ones, but you will also learn great things even from the rubbish ones.
You do something, you learn a lot from the things that go wrong, teach you the most sometimes. And one positive, if it's really bad, it's unlikely that lots of people will see it.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
You haven't lost out massively by being involved in it. You probably will learn a bunch, and then the film might struggle to get traction. It's very rare that a film does The Room type thing where it gets renowned for being a bad film and then therefore does well. Like that just it doesn't really happen.
He is the one in a million. But also remember as well, when you're making a show, when you're trying to make your first show reel, you know, casting directors and agents also, they understand that you haven't got the experience yet to have a flashy show reel, and you don't need that. It just needs to be good enough to showcase your skills as an actor, and showcase your casting. Those are the most important things. You know, they're not going to watch them and go, oh, I saw a boom pole there, because that's not the purpose of the show. Maybe, you know,
boom.
Exactly. That's for you as the actor. That's not your responsibility, and that's not what they're watching the show reel for. So don't get too hung up on production value as well. Just get something together that is good enough to showcase you at that point to get you started.
100%. I used to say to my actor friends as well, there's something quite exciting about finding what feels like a diamond in the rough, where it's like you see a tape from an actor that the performance is brilliant, the lighting's awful, and there's no expectation for that lighting to be really good. Understandably, a lot of acting friends of mine have gotten very good at lighting and cinematography over lockdown. But it's still not necessary for you to get the role. And the thought of taking that person and being like, wow, we're going to put them in a proper production with proper lights and it's going to be even better and next level. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah, definitely.
But thank you so much for joining us, guys. This has been really wonderful. And we will see you on an episode soon. If you do have any questions yourself, then make sure you email them to podcast@youngfilmacademy.co.uk. And if you are looking to meet young directors that maybe you want to be in films with, both me and Amelia have experience of the residential summer camp. Don't you, Amelia?
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. But genuinely, we found that our students meet up after summer camp and make films together. And I just think that is actually a really useful thing. So there's not many places for people that are young and passionate about film to actually get together before university. And that's why the summer camp is great, because that is that opportunity, and we do see connections of students that do get to come together. So there you 100%. Go. Very nice. We'll see you soon.
Yes, we shall see you soon. Bye-bye.